That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Sharper, which I believe is the directorial debut, technically, of a noted television director, Benjamin Caron, who's done a lot of work on notable series, including Andor and The Crown. It is being released courtesy of A24 and Apple TV on February 10th, 2023.
Today. Oh, there's a lot to watch. I thought this movie was good.
I enjoyed this film for the most part, yeah.
I think it could have been great, but the ending kind of didn't work for me. But anyway, and the story's pretty complicated.
In a way that I like, based on the layout, yeah.
But so I'm not going to try to give a detailed recap, but the basic story is it's about a pair of con artists, Sebastian Stan and Julianne Moore.
Max and Madeline. Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like Heartbreakers with Sigourney Weaver. Like, they con people using their wits. The opening of the film defines the word sharper as one who lives by their wits. So, what?
I was going to say Heartbreakers maybe meets The Grifters with Anjelica Huston and John Cusack.
And they're varying, like, degrees. So whether it's, like, via a one-night stand where they, like, steal someone's stuff or feign a long-term relationship to get more money out of them. That's what these people do. So Julianne Moore is seeing this billionaire played by John Lithgow. And the initial scam they're running is Sebastian Stan's character is pretending to be her son, and he's kind of like a loser who won't get out of her life. So they con John Lithgow out of $750,000, or I think it's like $720,000, to basically say Sebastian Stan will leave so that the two of them can be together. And it's effective. But during that process, during that process, they meet John Lithgow's son, played by
Justice Smith, Tom.
And they realize that he could also be a mark. But where things kind of go left is after the con for the $720,000 goes well, Sebastian and Julianne are supposed to go off together because they're kind of like romantically inclined. But at the last minute, Julianne tells Sebastian, you know what, actually, I'm going to stay because John Lithgow loves me and I'm not going to turn down an opportunity to be a billionaire's wife. Okay, so Sebastian's upset.
Yeah, she kind of burns him though.
She burns him.
Yeah.
So John Lithgow eventually dies and leaves all of his money, like over $9 billion, to Julianne Moore. Not his son, because he believes his son is an idiot because he got conned out of $350,000 thanks to Sebastian Stan and his new partner in crime,
Sandra, played by Brianna Middleton.
Okay, so now the son is upset because he got his heart broken by this new lady. So this is where the movie really gets complicated because, and we're telling it all out of sequence.
It's all out of sequence,
But basically, he pulls a major con on Julianne Moore to get his money back. Which involves Sebastian Stan and the lady and a whole bunch of things. And then it culminates with the son confronting Julianne Moore with a gun and pretending, like, he makes it, they set up this elaborate plan so it looks like Julianne Moore shot and killed the son. And then, of course, she doesn't want the police involved. She damn sure doesn't want to go to jail. So the rest of the gang, all the people working with the son, convince her to transfer all of the money she inherited to this foundation, like the John Lithgow's foundation, which the son was in charge of.
He's a trustee.
No, he's like the head of it, and Julianne Moore's the trustee. So she agrees to do it because in the back of her head, she's like, well, if the son was in charge and he's dead and I'm the trustee, now I have all this money now, again. But the final gag is she realizes that the son is not dead because it was all faked. The end. It's much more complicated than that, and there's a lot more going on, and it's told in a very different sequence, but it feels very much like a noir.
Yeah, this is a classic film noir setup, and also does that thing in the because I think it kind of ruins itself as the third act. With what happens to Julianne Moore's Madeline, it feels like studio era Hollywood where the bad guys have to be punished and can't get away.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the process of figuring out what was happening and how everyone's connected. But by the time we get to the final act where it's like everything's being spelled out and some of the logistics of like Julianne basically like transferring $9 million over the phone with her lawyer, and like that just seemed very easy, and the son being so like this major, I feel like more time could have been spent with the son orchestrating the con than the other hour we spend with Sebastian Stan training the lady.
Well, because we get a montage of, once there's this reveal that Justice Smith's Tom is screwed Julianne over, we get a montage of how Sandra was working with him, and they're like doing choreography about what to do with their gun scene, and that was pretty corny, and it's so disappointing because I also think Madeline would have been, she has $9 billion in her arsenal. She would hire a legal team and get out of this. She didn't murder this person on purpose. She would serve little to no jail time because people with money can get around. I feel like she would have not just immediately folded.
I wish we would have explored her not folding because she does have so many resources at her disposal. Also, like the group of people the son employs to help him with the con, Julianne is told that these people used to work for John Lithgow, like as fixers. So she never vetted these people. I just feel like this would have been so much more interesting to focus on the one con, because the opening of the film is the young lady, whatever her name
Sandra,
is, meeting the son at a bookstore. And it's like a meet cute, and then we find out that things devolve very quickly because she's saying that she has a brother who's like involved in drugs and needs money, and then this stupid boy offers to pay off her brother's debt to the total of $350,000, and then when he gives her the cash, she absconds. So it was an effective opening, but and it sets up the scenario well. But yeah, I would have been much more intrigued by how Julianne Moore's character would get out of this bind. Like, I almost wish it would have started with him being fake killed.
I think once a person like that married John Lithgow, who I also enjoy seeing quite a bit, I think she would have hired her own little team of people to do things for her.
Right. The other and the biggest plot point that bothered me is she thought she killed this boy. And then she's just gonna like move on. It's like, but this boy's dead, and he's like the son of a super rich guy who also just died. You think no one's gonna focus attention on you just because of that? So I feel like it didn't make sense for her to run away. And
initially I feel bad for Justice Smith's character, because Sebastian Stan also tells Sandra, never fall in love with a mark, because an innocent person isn't going to get themselves hemmed up, or how much he says it. But Justice Smith's character is really kind of an innocent, but he's also super pathetic.
I agree.
Like, I got swindled out of $350K and I had a nervous breakdown. Okay.
But he sounds like the son of a billionaire who like doesn't like thinks that everything should go his way, I guess. So in that regard, it's effective. There's some neat little like subplots with like how Sebastian Stan grooms the young lady.
That's very My Fair Lady / Pygmalion in the opening act, which I also kind of liked.
Because there's a scene with a shady parole officer, and then once he thinks that Sandra is like ready to go out on her own, they go to like a fancy hotel and con this guy in his hotel room, which was kind of fun. So the first con that they try to play with John Lithgow is Sebastian Stan's character is at his house being arrested by like a fake police officer. And I thought that was really interesting because in the middle of that con, Julianne Moore like breaks it.
She exposes the
she exposes it.
It's a double con.
So then that was also kind of like there's like a double triple con where it's like they all really know what's going on. It got a little too elaborate sometimes for me.
I don't think it was too elaborate. It's just that for something so elaborate, it's too bad that the climax isn't at the same level as all of the layers. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was written by Brian Gatewood and Alessandro Tanaka, who notably wrote David Gordon Green's The Sitter with Jonah Hill over a decade ago. So this was not something I would have expected from that team.
I don't have much else to say. I did find it very engaging, and I was with it all the way till the end. It's just like we've already mentioned. Wrapping up the story at the end felt very like, well, we got to get the bad guy, and we have to over-explain some points that I don't think needed explaining.
I think the title, how they have to define what sharper means, a person who lives by their wits, it's a noun. It's like, well, this movie isn't about a person who lives... This is about people who live by their wits and screw people over.
Yeah.
So it could have been called Con Artists. I don't know. But everything in the background is also first rate. We got Clint Mansell as the composer, Charlotte Bruce Christensen, who lends A Quiet Place and Fences for Denzel, among many other things. I think it looks good. I do like seeing Julianne Moore in this mode. I think she's always kind of...
Yeah, I really liked her.
Yeah. Although, I don't know what it is that several Sebastian Stan films have to... like showcase him dancing. Like there's a dance sequence to Dirty Laundry in this, which is much like Fresh recently, and I want to say The Bronze had that too. I don't know. I don't need to see that. It's not.
I actually have that down, and I didn't need this dance scene in the book. It felt out of place.
It felt out of place, and
I don't know what purpose it serves with regards to his character. What is it saying about him?
Yeah. In fact, I think we needed to spend a little more time with navigating how exactly. Yes, we show them, Madeline and Max, being sexual, maybe romantic, but how deep does that go?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wish we would have spent more time with Julianne Moore's character and the con she's pulling in relation to Sebastian. I think just that alone could have made for a 2-hour film.
Because at the point where she's saying goodbye to him, and the cops are at his door, I think we needed to understand how kind of devastating, how dirty that was of her to do to him.
Yeah, and we don't really get any background on their history together. We don't get any background on their history together. What would you give this film?
3. Could have been a 4. We had a little better writing at the end, but it was a 3.
I would give it 3 out of 5 as well. Anything else?
No.
Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.